because you've written about England's attack, Charlie, and kind of broken down what was good. There's some interesting George Ford quotes knocking around afterwards where he talked about kind of post-Scotland, the mindset change to wanting to kind of be a team that does well with ball in hand, be a threat, ask questions, fire shots, be that attacking team, be on the front foot a lot more. The tries look great. Part of me wants to say fantastic England passing, and it is. It's part of it also just shocking French defence a couple of times, caused by the uncertainty that England created. Something about Fiku for the first try, Thomas Ramos for one later on.
I think it's the tries are an endorsement of the coaching that Richard Wigglesworth and Felix Jones are doing together. We keep hearing that they're dovetailing together. Felix Jones is renowned as this guy that is really good at figuring out weaknesses among opposition sides, and they went after Ramos relentlessly. What was quite good, I think, when you take the kind of tries, if you look at them overarching, is there's loads of little things that are doing well. So the kick pressure is yielding points and try scoring opportunities. They're looking for opportunities, looking for opportunities on the counter. That the Leo Barre deliberate knock on, which France really got away with, that's from kick pressure. They win back a box kick from Alex Mitchell. George Ford then finds space behind Biel Barry. It's a poor kick from Biel Barry, and Freeman, who's pressurised Biel Barry, is coming back, looking for opportunities, calls it out and makes that breakdown there. That's really good. That's pressure plus, right? That's the plus bit that maybe England were finding it difficult, but they're really connecting their game plan now, which is really impressive. Really good stuff off the back of lineouts on the gain line, with Ollie Lawrence running like a 13 as he does for Bath, with Henry Slade quite good in that first receiver position. There's lots of really positive stuff. And I think that's kind of what the piece is hinting at, is that there's real room to progress on top of that now.
And Ford's been a lot flatter in the last couple of games.
Really self-aware.
Lots more late kind of decisions with ball in hand, which has helped.
Which we've always thought of as his strength. And it's really self-aware of him to say the Scotland game was a catalyst for me to... Well, I think it probably happened after the Wales game, and then in the Scotland game they had those mistakes while being kind of positive with how they were trying to play. The cohesion was probably letting them down, and then that clicked over those 2 weeks that they had prior to Ireland, and then they carried that on. I think George Furbank's injury probably on the whole hurt them, but they still gave it a really good crack.
I agree. I think they win with Furbank. I think if Furbank stays on the field, I think they win that game. That's not to take anything away from Marcus Smith. But I just think it took him 5 or 10 minutes just to get back into the rhythm of playing fullback. And I think if Furbank stays, then they would have built and built and built. And just very quickly on Ford, this playing flatter thing. Yeah, he's playing a lot flatter, but it's often not a conscious decision. It's not a sort of I'm going to play flat, I'm going to play deep. That comes from how you're generating momentum and how you're sort of manipulating the gain line. And he's been allowed to play flatter because England have been more dominant in the carry. Their forwards have been more dominant. They've been getting from football. The personnel hasn't changed, but the running lines have changed. You've seen Ben Earl, who nominally an open side flanker, who is playing number 8, playing to his strengths. Now he's using even 2 metres away from defenders when he's carrying off slow ball. He's using his very, very quick feet and his agility to beat defenders, which he wasn't necessarily doing before. It was a case of just coming around the corner and just trying to, batter down the door. Now, him, Chesham, and you've got Martin trying to batter down the door. You've got Genge, but also Genge has good feet. And all of a sudden, these England forwards who are quite strong, they're running at holes and they're not running at defenders. And that's what's getting them on the front foot rather than just pure ballast. And once you're on the front foot, it's much easier for Ford to play flatter because the defence is on the back foot and you've got more time to play flatter. So that's how it's happening. It's an entire piece.
Alex Mitchell, very important. All of a sudden, a really, really important player for England, I think, because he facilitates exactly what Charles is talking about there.
I was just going to ask a bigger question about England, because obviously they've had this fairly transformational mindset switch post-Scotland, and I think everybody's certainly on board with it because it's been great to watch. Was there any way that they could have played like that from the start of the Six Nations, or was that always impossible given what they wanted to do with the defence? I kind of feel that they had to break it up in chunks. I mean, we were sort of saying that the attack was on the back burner, weren't we? Because they were trying to fix the defence. I don't know if they could have played like this in attack from the start? What do you two think?
They'll reflect on how they used their time, but they absolutely had to win those first 2 games to give themselves a chance, didn't they? And I think that was probably the best chance of doing that because, I mean, they were in a tricky spot against Italy. One of my favourite moments of the tournament was Tommy Allen's try in that game, and the atmosphere. And the atmosphere was because of the possibility of Italy turning over England for the very first time, and they were a dangerous kind of. And a spoiler alert: I've chosen George Ford as my fly half of the tournament because I think even in those first 2 games, England will reflect on him as a kind of steadying influence and using his experience to get England out of tough spots against. They were down, was it 10-0 at least against Wales as well?
Serene McGeechan in his column wrote that he thought that those 2 weeks that incorporated Yorkshire and York, no Yorkshire bias, of course, as he joked at.
It was Yorkshire, what won it?
Yeah. Were pivotal for England. Just having that sort of 2-week block after Scotland to reset and build ahead of Ireland were pivotal. And also, we were having this conversation yesterday. Do England beat Ireland if they win at Murrayfield? I think probably the jury's out on that one. I don't think they do.
Can I test another sliding doors theory?
Sure, love it.
We know that the television man of the matches can be quite arbitrary, and it's usually sometimes one person's opinion. If Freddie Stewart is man of the match against Wales, which he had a big shout for being, does he lose his place to George Furbank?
I will say yes.
Probably, yeah.
I think so. I think the way the wind was going in terms of what they wanted to do with Furbank, the way Furbank changed how they play, I'd say probably.
I think so, but I just think it's interesting.
It's
interesting in the context of the Six Nations. We've written so many more eyes are on what's going on, and the narratives get kind of forged off the back of that, and then they can be quite heavy. So that it takes quite a lot it would take more, I think, for Steve Borthwick to kind of make a call if there was that weight of opinion sort of on Stewart's side, I guess.
And what do we think of final tackle?
Well, I was just going to ask you that. Yeah. So the final penalty.
Well, you've seen it on TV. So
I've seen it on TV. I'll be honest. I had to because the call comes in from the TMO about 2 phases later. Initially, I thought it was for a tackle by Ethan Roots, which looked a bit fine, and I was like, that can't be what it's for. And you have to go back to see this Ben Earl no arms tackle where he's very low. I've seen a lot of people talking about consistency with these no arms tackles. I don't know how much of a crutch that is, only because Ellis Genge got penalised for the same thing earlier in the game for a no-arms tackle. So it wasn't like England hadn't been warned about them. In that moment, because it's the final minute, because the game is on the line, I just feel like the officials are so twitchy to make sure that they don't miss anything. And so, Gardner obviously let it play, but for the TMO to come in and call it, I think it probably, by the letter of the law, it's penalty.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Should the TMO be coming in the 79th minute for a 50-50? Really, it's 50-50. I think it's one of those 50-50s where it could go either way, and I don't think either team can complain.
Yeah.
I don't think France would have complained had it not been given, and I think I don't think England can complain that it was. Should the TMO be coming in? We use the phrase clear and obvious all the time. Is that a clear and obvious error from Angus Gardner to miss that no-arms tackle from Ben Earl? I don't think it is. And I don't think a Test match of that magnitude, of that standard, and of that drama should have been decided. I mean, this is nothing. This is no English sour grapes whatsoever, because a betting man would have put money on France winning anyway, continuing and getting another penalty that Ramos kicks. But for it to be decided, for that match to be decided on that, it does sort of leave a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth, in all honesty.
So I initially thought the touch judge had called it, but just from the position on the field, and then it became apparent that the TMO had called it in. I think I can understand English grievances about it for sure, given the timing. Charlie, what do you think?
I think it'd be really interesting to see how Ben Earl reacts, because I think, as we've...
Well, he was convinced it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Chatting to Gardner on the field after it was given, he was like, it can't be me.
But players talk about painting pictures, don't they? He paints that picture quite a lot. Even if you go back to George Martin's hit on Franco Mostert at the World Cup, Ben Earl is kind of upending him in quite a similar way. He did it a few times during the game where you're going, it's almost like how, not quite as obvious, but almost like how Luke Cowan-Dickie tackles. And we know that Ben Earl is voracious in his appetite to get better, and as he goes down wormholes to look at things and make sure that he's getting better all the time. And I just wonder what he thinks about this and how he reacts. Would be really interesting.
Was it on Roman Taufifenua? Am I remembering that correct? It almost seems that Taufifenua, the lock Taufifenua, is so big that he knocks Ben Earl's arm out the way almost and makes it look like just the sheer force coming through almost tucks Ben Earl's arm in after the contact, which makes it look bad. But yeah, I'll just repeat what I've said. It is, I don't think they can complain that it was given as a penalty because it does look like one, but it is marginal. It is 50-50, and should the TMA be coming in to decide the game on that? Probably not.